my brain, I cannot conceive how in the world this case has been drawn out that long. So it's not. I just want to make sure that I'm understanding this right, because I'm pretty black and white type thinking. If it's there, it's there. The people have admitted to transporting her and placing her where she was at, correct?
Yes. The story that they gave was that Taylor was sick. Butler and Taylor were at his home, just those two.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor was in his bed, and the other individuals, and people get confused in the names. So there were 4 other individuals that were down in St. Petersburg. Butler's house is in Palm Harbor, Florida. It's about a 25-mile distance between where they were at to where Butler was living at.
Mm-hmm.
They said that Butler called them down there, called Deontay Baker, his live-in drug dealer, and said, Taylor's sick. I need you to come up and take her to the hospital. They were down there smoking pot and
mm-hmm.
said that, hey, we're high, and, why can't you just call an ambulance? And he said, I don't want any ambulance here. He was a convicted felon. So he had firearms and ammunition and drugs in the house. And he said, I don't want anybody coming in and seeing any of that stuff or, catching me with anything. Just come up and pick her up. So they drove up there. They said that when they got there, Taylor was in the bed, in his bed naked,
mm-hmm.
and had urinated on herself, and that she was moaning. Like, she couldn't talk, but they tried to touch her and she would moan like really, really loudly. So they started kind of freaking out and panicking, and they said that they had told police that Butler was real, like his face was very, very concerned, like he had done something.
Mm-hmm.
and they were like, just call 911, just call 911. And he refused to do it. And he said, just take her to the hospital, just take her to the hospital. So they wrapped her up in a sheet and put her in the back of Butler's truck. And one of the individuals got into they said, you're coming with us because we are 4 black guys with a white naked
white girl.
And I understand that. I mean, not from their perspective, but right. I can understand why they would have said that.
Yes.
So they said, so Butler said, okay. And I'll go get dressed. Well, he never came out of the house. So one of the individuals, the younger of the guys that were the other individual that were involved, just got in and drove off with her. He said he was going to try to find the hospital and take her to the hospital, but one of them he had said he had pulled into, but there were cop cars all around. You know how a lot of cops
mm-hmm.
will go to the hospital for throughout the night or whatever, or while they're on shift. But he saw that, so he didn't want to go and do that. So he heard her moaning, and she was in the back seat. It was only those 2 in there, and he said he was trying to find a hospital, but didn't really know the area because he wasn't from that area. So he said he smelled something that like Taylor had defecated.
Mm-hmm.
And he said and this is in the interview tapes, which we've also posted. He said, asked her, I guess they call it boo-boo. He said, Miss, why'd you boo-boo on yourself? Which means, crap on yourself. And she didn't say anything. And then he looked back there and she had fallen over. And so he called Deontay Baker, the live-in drug dealer, and said, hey, where are you guys at? I think she's dead. And they pulled into a gas station. They met them. Butler was still at his house. So they met Deontay Baker and 2 other gentlemen that were with them. They determined that she was dead, and they just panicked. They all started panicking.
And they got in a fight in the parking lot.
Yeah, because one of them wanted to get rid of Taylor. They said where she would have never been found.
Yeah.
They contacted Butler, and they said, "Hey, she's dead, and we're coming back to the house." And he said, "Don't bring her back here. Just take care of it." So they again started panicking. Argument continued, and Baker said, I knew Taylor from living in the house, and I liked her as a person. I wanted her to be found. So I knew that alleyway, it's not really an alleyway. It was a dirt like path cut through between an apartment complex and the couple residential houses. It was just like a dirt road. He said, I knew that was heavily traveled so that she would be found. So he said, we took her there, and he said, and then one of the individuals, he said, picked her up and put her out. They like kind of pushed her out. And then he said, we ran her over, but it was by accident. We didn't mean to. And then they threw the sheet out. They went back to Butler's house. They destroyed all the video surveillance in Butler's house. They went and got lighter fluid, burned all of her clothes and their clothes in his fireplace, and then took bags of garbage, trash bags of her belongings, of different things, and strung them along apartment complex dumpsters.
Like threw them in different dumpsters.
And they've all admitted to this. They all.
It's all
admitted.
in the police report.
So that was the story that they gave.
And we did ask, just to make a point, because that concerned me when they said that Taylor kind of fell over in the back of the truck, and then it was asphyxiation. So we asked specifically to the medical examiner, was it positional asphyxiation, or she cut her own airway off? And he said, absolute. And we were face to face with that medical examiner.
Yeah, we met with him personally.
We had a meeting, and he said, absolutely not. This is not positional. This is by the hands of another.
He said somebody did this to her, and he said, I'm surprised. I mean, he's a medical examiner. He's not, he's not law enforcement. So but he said they were in the autopsy when I performed it, and he said, and they saw all the same things that you're seeing and that I saw. And he said, I'm surprised. I don't know what's going on. Why nothing has been done in this case.
And he did say he had limited info. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, they do so many autopsies. It's Pinellas County, which is quite a busy county.
And even the police, they criticized the medical examiner. That they said that he didn't know what he was doing. That he should have never ruled it. It should have been ruled unknown cause. That it should have never been ruled a homicide. They told us that.
But that was after he said, we're waiting on the medical examiner's ruling. That's what's going to take us, to the next step is how important the medical examiner's ruling is. Well, now that it's a homicide, now it's not that important because you don't agree with it. Now, a year later, you're going to go get a warrant. There's no evidence there. Butler was never, he was never interviewed on camera. It was only,
they recorded it.
But not video. As
they started talking about Taylor, the recording stops.
Cuts off.
It just stops. And we asked them about that, and they said, we just had a malfunction with the equipment.
One of the gentlemen that they did interview that was never charged, they interviewed him in a parking lot, a gas station parking lot, on one of the officers' iPhones, and he lost the audio. That's in the police report. I mean, there's so much stuff. If they would have gotten a warrant in the first few days, I know this case could have been solved. I know it.
And I mean, I don't know how that it's not solved now. I mean, we've had a lot of people look at this. A lot of people have reviewed this, and everybody is just dumbfounded.
It's unanimous. It's all come back. Everybody said there's no way that they don't have enough.
It's crazy. I mean, it's like you're living this bad Hallmark type movie or something that that just you're like, there's no way possible that this could be happening.
Yeah, and then it sounds like a 1970s bad mafia movie.
Yeah. I mean, if it's that, and I even told the police, we've been married for 30 years. Take me down right now. I guarantee you my fingernail, his DNA is not under my fingernails and on my neck. I mean, that's just crazy.
No.
So as this case went on, an IRS agent got involved in this. And they told us, we're bringing him in because some money laundering. This is all, you can find this is all public record as well. And we're looking to make a federal case out of this. So you could see the way that they were going with it. It was like Taylor's case got put on the back burner, and down there in St. Petersburg, it's a well-known drug area. The majority of the city is a very well-known drug area, and there's some very bad parts there, like there are everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And we later found out that this Deontay Baker, because they ended up charging Butler with money laundering. They tried to charge Deontay, or they did charge Deontay Baker with possession, I think with intent to distribute and sell or something along those lines. We attended those hearings, and we found out he was actually a confidential informant for St. Petersburg Police Department. He admitted that on the stand.
But that's the one they wouldn't send to Butler's house with a wire. But he's your confidential informant. I don't understand.
They eventually, once he admitted that and it went into the federal circuit, then I'm sure that the confidential informant paperwork from St. Petersburg, did that get entered to validate his claims there?
We asked St. Pete because this was St. Pete had the Taylor case.
Okay.
Federal had the drug charges. We went to every drug charge hearing. St. Pete police did not. So we would always call and say, can you pull these transcripts? Because Butler had to take the stand, Baker had to take the stand. And we said, please pull these transcripts. These stories don't match. He went, ma'am, that's not our job. Our job is criminal. And that is all, what is it?
Well, he said that's our job isn't to pull those transcripts. That's the federal case. And I said, but you can pull those, you have the capability of pulling those. And a lot of this is going to be public record.
Yeah.
And this was the major who did the thorough investigation. He said, no, that's not what we're going to do.
Did they eventually, so have those been FOIA'd, or are they public record now, all the testimony and things like that from those cases?
Yes, it should be all public record, unless there's
we don't have
any of the federal stuff. But I believe our attorney, I believe he might have gotten some of it.
He did.
He got some of the federal stuff because we actually filed a civil lawsuit, wrongful death lawsuit against them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also asked St. Pete to pull that as well, and they said we don't need to go over the tapes.
Yeah,
it's just like they did not want to solve this case. And
well, the federal Butler ended up pleading guilty to money laundering charges, and they showed, I believe it was in excess of $600,000 that he had paid for drugs. He would, say that he would pay like $1,000 for one of his girlfriends to clean the house.
Yeah.
Or $2,000 to go get his car washed or something like that. So he ended up serving. He took a plea deal. I think he got 46 or 47 months, and then he agreed to cooperate and testify against Baker, and they reduced it down to 27 months. And he's served it, and he went to
he got out last year.
It was one of the club feds, they called it. It was a prison. And Baker, he fought it. He fought the charges, and he did not get convicted. They found him not guilty on the drug charges of.
So he would have so this Baker individual, he would have every reason at this point to tell any and everything that he knew, because obviously the Butler had already testified against him. Yes. And it didn't do any good. So that would be public record. Well,
I went to the jail when Baker was being held. I requested a jail visit with him, and he accepted it. So he told me a bunch of this stuff. We have that tape too, because as soon as I left that visitation, I called the detective and I said I was just at booth 16. This date, pulled the tape because I just talked to Baker, and he told me about the confidential informant. He told me about I would have went and wore a wire.
Yeah, he said, I wanted to help. I wanted to help them. I wanted to find out for them, but they wouldn't let me do it. They wouldn't let me go. And then we saw it in the police report. And
I told him, I said, Butler has thrown you under the bus. I said, he's already thrown you under the bus. If you know anything, he said, I've tried to tell the cops. They wanted to make a big drug bust instead of solving Taylor's case, is pretty much what Deontay Baker told me. And that's pretty much what happened.
Yeah.
Without the big drug bust.
There's only one way that something like this goes this diluted, and there has to be some money has been transferred from somewhere There's absolutely no other reason. Like, yes, there's tons of wealthy people in the world, but you can't blatantly turn a blind eye to something unless somebody, and again, I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm just stating the only thing that ever causes issues like this is money. It's not.
And if you listen to the story, it almost sounds unreal. It just keeps going deeper and deeper. And if I can just add this, because this just proves your point, is Butler's sister, who also was part of the business, gave birth to a baby at home, stuffed it in a dresser drawer. Cops were called, and she got charged with a misdemeanor. It's a dead baby. She killed her baby. And she went, I don't even think she did any jail time.
Yes, she did. She did.
What was it? Not less than a year?
She didn't. She killed the baby, but they didn't. There were no homicide charges. I think it was.
She just gave home delivery and shoved it in a dresser drawer.
And they found blood on her leg when they got there, and it's a very sick family overall. I mean, and then his ex-wife actually reached out to us, Butler's ex-wife, and she said that, Butler had, his temper is uncontrollable. She said he had beat me, he had hit me, he broke her tailbone, he slammed her up against a wall. If she even talked to another man, he would go ballistic. And
we have all those texts from his ex-wife, but the police didn't. I know it doesn't have anything to do with Taylor's case, but but they didn't want to see those.
It does show a trend, though. It does show a pattern. I mean, and that's all it is.
Ex-wife looks just like Taylor, which is kind of scary.
Yeah.
So from everything that's taken place there, so I mean, I'm assuming at this point, y'all just feel as though St. Petersburg Police Department, correct? Are just not interested in solving this or putting it together whatsoever, right? So
yes, that is correct.
So in the state of Florida, and you'll have to forgive me because, like I said, I know South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, but so in the state of Florida, how does that work, right? So once you go above, so in South Carolina or North Carolina, you got, say, South Carolina Law Enforcement Division. So that's like the overseeing entity for the state police, right? And so they have power or jurisdiction over every department within the state. So what would be the next step up from St. Petersburg Police Department?
FDLE, Florida Department of Law Enforcement.
Who I emailed and got a reply that we do not investigate other police departments. We assist police departments in their investigations. We're sorry for your loss.
Okay. All right. So if they're going to say that, if that's the overall for there, what about, so I always recommend, and I'm sure y'all both know this, but somebody that's not listening, they've heard me mention it before, congressmen, senators, things of that nature, to bring that and then have the Department of Justice look into it, or possibly the FBI come in. And it's happened before for different people that we've referred it to. And obviously, I know y'all know this. There's just people that are going to be listening and be like, well, how do you get that fixed? So there's always that one step up. So the only thing, and I'll get y'all to answer that in just a second, but the only thing that I would be concerned with as far as on the federal side was that they already had that case for the money laundering, right? So that would be what kind of strewed me away from saying the IRS. I guess they looked into it, but like if the FBI or somebody was to look into it, what has any representatives, y'all reached out to them? Have they said anything? I mean,
we've emailed some. We've reached out. The Attorney General for Florida is her name's Ashley Moody. Her father is actually the one who sentenced Butler on the federal case. He's a federal judge.
Okay.
In Tampa there. We've reached out to her, no response back. Taylor's case, it has taken, it took off when we started posting a lot of stuff. I mean, there's people that have done her case similar to what you're doing. There's one, I believe, there's over 1 million views on it.
Yeah.
There's people from out of the country that have reached out to, I mean, it's all over,
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Yeah.
So that was a good thing. And a lot of these people have reached out to them as well. Because we always ask people, the more of us there are, the more they're going to hear this. And we're basically at a standstill. We've heard nothing. We've got no response. We even had, there was a young lady who was taking a law class, and the assistant state attorney who was supposed to be assisting on Taylor's case was actually the instructor.
Mm-hmm.
And she had told us, she said, I was in the class and I just said, hey, what's going on with the Taylor McAllister case? And she said his face turned like bright red. And he said, we will not be discussing anything. I will not be answering any questions about Taylor McAllister case. He and I got in a pretty heated argument on the phone, so he definitely does not like us. But we kind of feel, not kind of, we do. We know that this case, it's got to be taken up higher somewhere. And that's what our hope is at this point, is that the FBI comes in and takes a look at this. We were hoping that the Attorney General or even the governor would assign a special like prosecutor to review everything. We haven't gotten anywhere with that. We're not going to give up. It's just, you run into a lot of walls, and and that's what they want. I think that's kind of what they're, when we had posted some stuff, because we were, telling what officers were involved, what their involvement was, what they did and didn't do. And then that with the one major did the thorough review, sent us a cease and desist letter from his attorney to try to shut us up. How many times have you ever heard of a police department sending a murder victim's family a cease and desist letter? If you would have done your job, we would have had no reason to do what we're doing. But that's just kind of where we're at, and hoping that somewhere, somebody, or something, because we've heard it all. We've heard, this was nothing but an addict. People still say, she OD'd. She
made that choice.
Yeah. And
what did you expect?
We're horrible parents. You guys, didn't do this or you didn't do that. We've heard all of it, and it goes in one ear out the other.
You kind of numb after a while. I would like to see Taylor's case closed, not a cold case. Just close it, because that way I could get everything that I can't, that I don't have access to. And I think that's why they keep it as a cold case. I really think that's why it's a cold case. Nobody's going to come forward. They already got away with it. They're not going to talk. They are all got away with it, and nobody's going to come forward with a tip.
Well, the tips are already there. Everything's already there. There's nothing that
you just have to get a higher court to prosecute this. That's the only thing that's there. You just have to get a higher court. So is St. Petersburg, is that 14th or 13th district?
I'm not sure what district they are.
I think it's a 12.
I don't know. It's a police department that the saying down there in Pinellas County is, when nobody else will hire you, go to St. Pete.
Yeah. So so this is the thing. So as far as what I would be able to do to help there, because that's what it is. And I believe, so I tried to Google it, and I think the congressman or congresswoman over down there towards St. Petersburg is Kathy Castor. Does that sound correct? Well,
okay, that does sound.
The reason that I asked that is I have two friends, or I don't want to say friends. One is a friend, but another one is a close acquaintance, I guess. That are congressmen in South Carolina that I would be more than happy to have them reach out. And one of them is pretty up there in the scale of that, because this is ridiculous, right? And I can't look, and I know y'all talked to a lot of people, a lot bigger people than me. I understand that, but there's no reason whatsoever that this should be the way that it's been. And I don't care if they get mad. Like I said, I will go through and I'll edit out names. So they can't take this down, because that's the thing. They want the silence so that it just goes away. There's no ifs, ands, buts about that. And I'm pretty reserved, laid back about these kind of things. Like I said, and you can go back and watch the other dozens of interviews that I've done, and it is that way. But with this one, there's just no, I told you, I'm very almost simple-minded, to where if I can prove it, if it's in black and white, if you can read it, and if it matches, right, at the end of the day, if it quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, it's a duck. And if it's there, that's right. So the law applies to everybody, right? And I know some people are going to hear that and they're going to be like, oh, no, done. And I'm not one of those guys that's like, police right 100% of the time. It's like, 99% of the time, but 1% of them are absolutely just trash and have no right. and this is one of those times where if y'all don't get recognized for what y'all have been through, especially both of y'all have been in public service before, and you get done this way. And again, it doesn't matter just because y'all have it. I don't hold myself any higher for that. But regardless of anybody's social status or issues that they fought or anything like that, they should still, if you know the answer, if something as blatantly obvious as what is taking place in y'all's daughter's case, there is no reason that it should not already been looked into. And how you've had talked to hundreds, if not thousands of people, millions of people have seen this story, you know, not necessarily from me, but that's just something. And that's what it is. And a lot of people, like you said, though, are hoping and banking on, it's like, all right, well, if we just stay away or we drag it out long enough, how in God's name this is still listed as a cold case, I don't know, right? Like it's not, it's only cold because of the lack of initiative and people doing their job that it is that way, for whatever that reason may be. But that's what I'm going to do without a doubt. As I'm going to write to mine, and I'll even write to y'all's Congress. And I'm pretty sure that is, I think it's Kathy Lucas, or Castor. I don't know.
Well, you know, they I don't know if you saw Investigative Discovery, the ID channel.
Yeah.
They even covered Taylor's case. And that was big for just the exposure of it. And, you know, people will ask us all the time, they're like, you know, when are you going to stop? Or, you know, you're not getting anywhere. This isn't going anywhere. And it's like, you can't, I mean, we're just a normal middle-class family that who has a daughter who was murdered, and we just want justice. We just want, like you said, we just want somebody to just do your job. And that was in the last meeting, we said, just do your job. That's all we're asking you to do. But something's just not adding up with this. It just doesn't make any sense. And, you know, we're not out here, just spewing ridiculous things. I mean, the stuff that we say is stuff that we've researched, or we've, records, public records, or we can back. We have, I mean, for the longest time, like I said, with the autopsy, she OD'd, and Taylor she was sick. I mean, she had some things wrong with her medically, and it's in the autopsy, and it was from IV drug use.
But we didn't hide
we're not going to hide any of that stuff. I mean, plus people, you can even request publicly the public record of the autopsy. I mean, you could do it if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But the interviews, they're all there. Leslie's, when she went to the jail and did the jail visit, all of that stuff is there, that the stuff that we're saying backs it up. I mean, and it just supports. So it's just getting this in the right people's hands that can do something. And, we've done a lot of these podcasts. We've done a lot of interviews with the news channel and things like that. And we'll do as many as it takes. And I don't care if you have, one member. I mean, if you want to do one, I'll do one with you. Not because we enjoy doing it, but just because you never know. You never know that one person is going to know somebody that can get this in the right hands.
Right. Yeah. St. Pete does not put her picture. They don't post on the year anniversary. They don't put the reward, the tip line. They don't put any of that.
They've blocked us. We can't comment on any of the pages, anymore. People used to just put hashtag Justice for Taylor 22.
Just over and over.
They've blocked us from doing that.
But that is why we appreciate people like you, because people like you are the ones that keep Taylor's name out there, because the police department doesn't. We do, and people like you and the YouTube videos we do, that keeps Taylor's story alive. And that's what I think our family struggles with, is we lost Taylor, but you're never going to have closure, but an arrest it would just bring a little bit of justice, and her daughters, when they get older and they have questions, it would be nice to say that someone was held accountable, other than he got away with it. I'm sorry.
In the end, for her case, it was only misdemeanor charges. They actually found the ammunition in Butler's house. They charged him with that and felony possession of marijuana. The state attorney dropped those charges. So they were charged with failure to report a death, which was a misdemeanor. One of them served 4 months. Baker served a year, but it was because of the federal charges. And then Butler served 8 months on the failure to report, and then
there's 27 months.
27 months
federal charges.
So that's where they're all at, and this is where we're at, unfortunately.
That is though, and it's see, and this is what I'm talking about though. As far as, and I have so many people, in most of the cases that I deal with, right? The families, they have no idea where to start. They have no idea where to begin. They could only pray for the amount of information that has been furnished in their case, which some of them are similar. A lot of them are similar to y'all's. And it just goes to show that it doesn't matter where you're from. Talk to people all over the country, and it's the same thing happening everywhere. And it's usually, lack of people doing their job. Now, number one, right, I understand, and y'all acknowledge that as well. Like, people are responsible for their actions, but at the same time, like, when it gets to that point, when somebody is called to do their job,
right,
that you really don't even have to do your job in a case like this. It's all there for you. It all sounds like everybody was cooperative. Everybody was willing to tell on everybody. It's just sad, and I hate that.
Well, that was one of the comments. One of the reporters, it was a reporter or somebody who did a podcast, reached out to the state attorney's office down there, and the assistant state attorney said, well, there's a lot of finger pointing in this case, so we got to be able to try a case. There's got to be reasonable doubt, or whatever I'm trying to say.
Which we understand that beyond a reasonable doubt.
Thank you.
We completely understand that, but there have been cases with so much less evidence that someone has been found guilty. There's been no bodies before, and people have been found guilty.
Well, that was one of the things that major said. He said this case is just circumstantial, and
there's been people executed for circumstantial evidence.
That's what I said. Exactly. I said you do know that there's a lot of convictions on circumstantial evidence, and he went, yeah, but there's a lot that aren't either. And I said, so this is one of the meetings that we had with them. I mean, if somebody else would have been in that meeting and just seen the way that they treated us and talked to us, because they knew that it was just us in there.
It was behind closed doors. They at that point in time, they were able to flex some power. Yes. If anything, it sounds more or less like an intimidation tactic. Just try to get you to shut up.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, they're going to come after us.
Yeah.
And that's just it. As we left that meeting, and then we kept posting, and a few months later, we get even
after the cease and desist, we still posted stuff because I
don't understand with the cease and desist. Like, how are they going to? Were they trying to give you a gag order? Like you can say
they were saying I have to. I think there was 3 specific things that they listed, talking about the officers and
facts of the case.
Yeah, talking about facts of the case.
And this particular officer, he did have a little personal run-in.
Oh yes.
Private run-in, which was public record, and we posted that. So, but that was public record.
he was basically something. He was contacting another officer's wife or something along those lines.
And that other
and we found that in a. Some people might say it was immature on our part but when that anger just starts festering and festering and it just doesn't go away, and you just don't really care what you post as long as it's factual. Now we didn't make up anything. We found these articles. They were posted, in I think the local newspaper down there. So we just shared them.
And
it also goes to show an integrity issue.
Was his integrity,
and that was what our thing was.
And that's what we posted is exactly that. And then we got the cease and desist after that. So
well, that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna go through, edit this one up. It usually doesn't take me long to do it at all, but I'll go through and I'm gonna rewatch this one because this is gonna be a good one. But as soon as we get off here, because it's only 9:30, I'm gonna call one of my buddies up and let them know pretty much immediately about it and start looking around down there. And you don't have to say it on camera, like what part of Florida y'all live in or anything. I'm not even sure if it is the same. If it is, it doesn't matter.
No, we're not living in Florida anymore.
Okay.
We moved.
We're in.
Oh, yeah. Well, so y'all aren't far at all. So that within itself, too, I would recommend reaching out to them because y'all now reside in that state. So they argue with them with that information. But if there's anything we can do in the meantime, absolutely just let me know. We'll get this put up. Again, so sorry for everything y'all been going through. This is ridiculous.
But we appreciate you taking your time to listen to us. And I mean, please know we are very appreciative of anybody that helps us. I mean, even people that we don't know that just share anything or whatever it is. We're very grateful and very appreciative of that. So
some lady in the Philippines drew a portrait of Taylor. I have no idea, and sent that to us, and it just that means so much to me. And that's not, the cops doing anything. It's just, and I do want to say that we talk a lot about Taylor's struggles. Taylor was a caring, kind, compassionate girl who would have done anything for anybody, and she trusted way too much and thought nothing bad could ever happen to her. So she really, really was a special. She
loved everybody and loved life. She really did. I mean, she'd meet you. I say this in almost every interview we do, is she could literally meet you one time, and if she ran into you at Chick-fil-A the next time, she would walk up and give you the biggest hug as if she knew you her entire life. And that's just how she treated everybody. She just wasn't mean-spirited or anything, but she just, like Leslie said, too trustworthy of people. And when you're around bad people battling addiction, that's a bad combination, unfortunately.
Yeah. We pray on that. But again, I'll be praying for y'all. Anything we can do at all, just let me know. And then hello,
I'm gonna cover House of the Rising Sun for my friend Chandler, and I hope you like it. There is a house in New Orleans. They call the rising sun, and it